Right. So it's 6 p.m., 7 p.m. in Germany. So we are talking to Yasmin Jess. Yasmin, thank you for taking the time to talking to us. And as you said, when I was here thinking, how many more people do I know? I've got a bucket full, had a big list like this. And I thought, okay, why not talk to you? You've got some experience with us, experience with Krav Maga, experience, attending different courses and traveling with us to different places. So I said,
Yes.
it would be nice to hear from you, what you have to say. So would you mind sharing with us your, a little background information regarding yourself, regarding, of course, you're in Germany. I guess you are German, even though I could not tell for years because you had no accent. And one day you're like, what? You're German.
Success.
Success.
Um, that
That's
was the
fine.
mission. Yes, I am German, but that's not really my main character trait, luckily. Sorry, fellow Germans, but yeah, I lived very long time abroad in the US and in London and traveled a lot in Mexico for a while and a bunch of stuff. So I'm not so about the nation and stuff. So, but
Right.
yes, at the moment I am located in Berlin City, the capital of Germany, probably semi-quarantined as all of you lovely people. And yeah, my whereabouts, yes, Yasmin is my name. I studied in London after I did some other studying all over the place. And I started Krav Maga in 2011, I believe, after some random mixed martial arts and Aikido and all kinds of stuff. I came to Krav Maga and pretty quickly ended up with Joe and
Wow.
never left again until I actually left the country.
Wow.
And fast forward, I became an instructor 2017. So in my opinion, fairly quick, but it wasn't really my choice. I always considered maybe instructordom is on the horizon, but I thought it would be like way later or something. But my boss trainer here just kind of like mentioned it to me. We had a conversation about it. And I was like, wow, really? Okay, let's do this. And that's how it happened. And yeah,
Oh. And,
now I
and
can.
the reason why you started training Krav Maga here, have you done this before in other countries and then you came to London and you found Krav Maga, or you've never heard of Krav Maga? I thought Krav Maga was some kind of a Greek yogurt,
I
you know?
love this question. Yes, no, the idea and a lot of knowledge of Krav Maga was in my life for a very long time.
Oh,
Like I can't, probably 10 years before that, like I looked it up already, and I came to the idea of Krav Maga via video games, by the way. So this is not non-traditional way. Um, Over some weird research because it was mentioned in a video game I was playing and stuff like that. And I came to it like that, and I always thought like, "Ooh, this sounds really cool. I want to do it," because I always was kind of into sports, into movement, into activities, but not just like, sorry for anyone who's into that, but I was never like into tennis or like ball sports or something like that. So for me, the go-to thing was fighting sports. They were always most interesting and most challenging to me. And somehow it never really happened that I found a Krav Maga school really like in front of my nose, so to speak. And it took a few years longer for me to end up there. And I went over like some mixed martial arts. Like I said, I did like a little bit of Aikido and like boxing and things, but now nothing really stuck. Like I did everything for like half a year or so. And I kept skipping it and kept skipping it. And martial arts specifically were interesting to me, but it was not enough action, I want to say.
wow.
And then finally, I was in London, and finally the topic of Krav Maga came up again somehow in my private life, and I was like, I'm gonna do this now. And I signed up for like a 6-week, the only women's course I ever did, like a 6-week women's course intro thing to Krav Maga, which Sarah Brendler in London.
Yes, yes.
And it was just, I was hooked like immediately. I mean, first of all, she's a fantastic instructor. It was
Yeah.
really great teaching, learning under her. And yeah, it was just, that was it. Like it just made so much sense to me. And then I did that 6 weeks course, and I asked her like, where can I continue this? What do you recommend? And your name happened to be around at that time. And like this was way before being independent and all that stuff, you know.
Right, right.
And then yeah, I started right, like a few weeks after that, probably I started in your school.
Wow, very nice. And at the time, we had the females only class already, or we started, because I think we started 2010, 2011. I'm not sure. We were discussing this the other day, and I had the timeline in my head is all confused. I remember certain things, but don't ask me what date is that. Look at the pictures and I
I
go,
can relate.
2006? Are you crazy? I remember this day if it was yesterday.
Exactly. No, I'm actually, to be honest, just slight insert. Before this interview, I had to look up when I made instructor because I couldn't remember the year. It's not that long ago, but I just,
Yeah.
but yes, you had a women's class on Saturday pretty much ever since I joined. And
Was
I
Magda
sometimes did
teaching?
that. I sometimes did that, but mostly just because to do 2 lessons in a row because
Ah,
I was just that hooked, I wanted to do more. But like I was never so much into the women's classes, weirdly enough. I like the challenge more with bigger people, bigger, heavier, stronger.
yeah. No, it's very interesting to see that, because sometimes when we open that females class thinking, I know this is a door for the females to join, perhaps train with other females, and then eventually once they understand that, look, there's no monsters behind the curtain, you can go there and train with the boys, because that's the fun side of it, or with a mixed level class if you like it. And then
Yeah.
that group of females, I go like, no, I don't want to know about the females. I don't like to train with all the girls. I'd rather go and get deep into the normal session, train with other people there. It's a very interesting approach when it comes to all that. So yeah, you're one of them.
Thankfully, I fully understand that for some women that's just more comfortable, because you're like starting a new activity and maybe you're completely new to the fight world, so it's like really intimidating maybe, and it can be a little more or a little less stressful to just be around women to make a fool of yourself as opposed to like stronger men, and they're just like you. I heard this so many times from while I was a student, but also in my students. And I have some women that keep asking for women's classes here actually, and I'm like, no, fight against men, it's better. So I'm a big advocate for that, but I understand it because many of my students and stuff, they get so flustered because like it's intimidating and you're new to it and you feel like you're messing up all the time and stuff, and then like you have this movie in your head going of like, oh, that guy is like really bored with me or something like that while we're practicing, and it's boring for my training partner, which is obviously not the case. We all know this.
No.
But you just kind of to filter some of that worry out, I think women's classes can be quite helpful.
Wow.
Also for like very specific things like, we're lighter weight or something like that. There's different techniques that are adjustable to a woman's body, and like if your attacker is bigger and heavier and stuff like that. For certain things it's very helpful, but like I said, for me generally I'm all about the challenge and making it as hard as possible somehow.
Yeah.
So that would always be like the biggest opponent I can find.
Very interesting. And of course, people remember when I mentioned that, oh, we're going to have Yasmin on the thing. And then even Manuel says, oh, yes, my forearms were bruised when I used to train with her. And so got kicked in the groin. I was like, okay, there's a way of remembering that. So everybody remembers you. This is good. And
Great.
it's a very interesting one. Very interesting. So you trained with us for how many years? 2011, you said, to about 2000?
I left the UK like around 2000. I left 2000.
It was
15, I think.
after Greece, wasn't it? Kefalonia camp, was it?
No, I was not a member in yours. No, I was not. I already lived, I guess, in Germany in that time.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and I just like I go to like seminars and stuff. But I left the UK I think at the beginning of 2015, like somewhere around there. And then like did some world touring and traveling, and then ended up in Berlin since then, basically since like 2016 or something.
Because I remember you asking me, oh, do you know anybody here in Berlin? If there's anyone under whatever organization, I said, well, have a look around, but there are this guy, that guy, that guy. So you did your research, you ended up training with the club, which was, I think it's on the KMG.
Yeah, exactly.
I met many of the guys in Israel. We got that training, some of the experts and instructors, but then I lost contact with some of the guys for many years. There's the whole thing about the clan. There is even a kind of a It's something to do with psychology, that people tend to go around in tribes. When one leaves a tribe, they forget about that, isolate the person. They focus on the others, even though they're good best friends, but they don't talk about one another anymore because now you're not part of the family.
Isn't
And
that sad?
it's very, yeah, we are a bunch of funny people, aren't we?
Yes, but still, like, somehow this Krav world is kind of tight knit, like,
Oh, yeah.
or not necessarily tight knit, but what do I want to say here? Everybody talks about everybody, and everybody knows everybody a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, you kind of, people stick to their individual little tribes, and then
Yeah. Well,
get a little judgy.
one thing that I missed the most with those camps in Israel, one thing, was the fact that you had 60, 70, 80 people in the same place, in the same sports hall, and now show them the technique. If you can convince them that you're good enough, that you've been spending time training, if you're good, very good. It's not the talk, it's not what's on your website. I want to see you here. Show us. 5, 6, 7, 8 hours grading at the end, you'll, okay, I respect this guy because he knows his stuff. So
Yes.
in the future, we know who is who. That's the only thing that I miss from those camps, basically. But anyway, forget about those camps. And the other one is, so what was the difference between our example? Because I taught classes in London, in Hertfordshire, in Essex, in Kent, in Cambridge. And even though we are very close, 50, 60, 70 miles or 120 kilometers where you're there, they are different. People are different. They have not just the accent, but the way people behave is different. What is the difference that you felt leaving from London, which is a crazy melting pot, and moving back to Germany? Because in London we can have in one class 10 different nationalities easily there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you back to Germany, all of a sudden, I'm not sure Berlin, maybe not, because Berlin is like London. You might say that there are lots of different people. But how do you see that change in behavior, the way people behave and they think?
I always thought that Berlin is one of those melting pots, like major city melting pot, kind of like London. But then I lived in London, and then I came back, and I was like, oh, it's not. Wait a second.
London messing with people's heads, eh?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I feel like cities are kind of all the same, but then again, they're not. London is very specific and particular in like how many nationalities are blending there. And as much as we have pretty much all nationalities going on here as well, because it's a capital city, it's still like the I want to say like the image of the city, like if you just sit in a tube or something like that or equivalent, it still looks different. Like it looks way more versatile in London. And then when it comes to the Krav Maga classes, it was definitely more diverse. Really? And more women. Yes.
In Germany? Or
in London.
Really? Wow.
Yes. I mean, we have a good percentage of women in our classes too, but it's definitely a little less. And it's definitely less women who like trained really hard, like really seriously hard, like on the same level with the guys.
You're like a different package. You're in a different level. You're not.
Yeah. And then I mean, I don't know about that, but I'm just like pushing the extremes all the time. That's just kind of like my weird thing that I have going on. But generally the differences in the classes, it's definitely less diverse. It was coming here, and like the contrast that I noticed most at the beginning was it was very much more technique focused. Right. Not that the trainings necessarily were easier from a fitness level or anything like that. Like it was still hard training and all that. But there is a knife. God, I just got distracted.
Everybody's getting distracted with Adrian with a massive knife like this, chopping some vegetables there. And I nearly said what Rachel just said. Be careful with this knife before you ended up circumcising yourself in front of her.
Oh, gosh. Okay, moving on. So yeah, it felt like in the beginning of stranding here again, it felt more technique constrictive. Is that a word?
Yeah, you're asking me. I'm the foreigner here. Hey.
Oh yeah, well,
what do I know?
Weak language. Yeah, it just felt like, I mean, and I'm totally driving the stereotype now. Thank you, Germany and stuff. But it felt like more like technique and a little boxed in stuff, and a little more not organized, but like constructed in a way that is like very, this is the curriculum, you
Okay.
know.
Is the free
Because
flow? Is the free flow that we combine this technique with that one?
yeah.
With that one, we create a little sequence and off we go. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been changing for in the last years also, and there's more like open fighting and more sparring as well and all that stuff, and more and more of like the rock and roll version, we always say in our club, like rock and roll, like not curriculum things. But in the beginning, I just noticed that as a difference, like very strongly. It just felt very like on the dot with
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
But
This is one of the things that I normally joke, because you know me, I joke with everybody, and the guy sometimes, oh, you shouldn't talk about this because people might get offended. I says, well, if they get offended, they can punch them in the face. That's fine. Then we go home and have a beer. But the point was that in class, you can tell, have the, you know, the Brazilians train together, they're talking, they're chatting, they're laughing. You throw the information, let them deal with it, and then you correct every now and then. You know, with the Germans are pretty much like, you know, we're listening, give us a spreadsheet. Otherwise, I cannot follow. I need to be step by step. And then I explain as I do, and then I go, okay, but for the two of you Germans, I will take it to the side and give you more information. And they look at me like, oh, how did you know that? I said, well, I know you because we've been teaching people, not you, but the concept, the idea. You need more details. And it has to be step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat, do it again until we get to some kind of perfection, which is nothing wrong with it. It's good. It's a different way of doing it. And the other thing also, if you had started with us many years ago when I was, you know, younger instructor, if you like, probably I was doing exactly the same thing, very focused in technique. Why? Because you attended the same instructor's course, 180 hours training, you know, 21 days that, you know, bombarded you with information. By the time you leave, you have a million things in your head. But when you start teaching, you go back to the basics. And you're never going to touch some of the stuff that from graduate level, from brown belt level, G level. You're going to take years to get to that stage, unless, of course, you're in a club where you can you know, bounce between the white, the P0s and the brown belts and black belts and so on. Then it's okay. You're going to get a lot of information. But otherwise, you're going to be, you know, P0s, P1, P0, P1, white belt, yellow belt for months, And it's very easy to learn to lose some of that fluidity, if you like. But of course, after many years, you know, we start learning a little bit more and combining all the things. And all of a sudden, as you said, becomes this rock and roll where we can start a session with any move. And then from there, we take it and we, you know, hour and a half later, this is it. Finished. Can we go home now? You know, I want to continue.
Yes, exactly. I fully agree with that. Yeah.
And from the instructor's course point of view, I mean, you did the 21 days, which is for people who don't know, in the beginning, the Israelis had to sell this in a way. So they put together the 21-day package, a little box with all the bits and bobs inside. Defense against punches, kicks, knives, guns, ground, And then, of course, this is the instructor's course, takes 21 days. We can divide this in 3 phases. When I did mine, I did in 21 days, a month in one go, which was the stupidest thing ever. I don't recommend that. Because you don't have time to recover, you get injured, and that's it. You don't benefit as much from that. But then also people have the time to go and experience some in between those 3 weeks you have between one level and the other one, or one phase and the other one. You can go and experience that. So if you have a club that you can go and train, you know, so I kept saying to the instructors, push the instructors aside, the senior guys aside, take over the class and go there and get it wrong as much as you can. The more you get it wrong now, the more you're going to learn later, because we're going to fix, we're going to correct, we're going to give you the feedback. And then from there, you're going to improve. And then later in the future, if you want to open your own club, congratulations. You've got the experience, you've got the knowledge, you've got the contacts, and, you know, off you go. So what did you feel after the instructor's course? I mean,
what did I feel?
You had a big piece of paper. Gabriel said that you're an instructor. Congratulations. And now what?
Pain and tears. There were pain and tears, and not just with me, pretty much with the whole team. A lot of people cried, which was beautiful. But I was completely like under the umbrella of my club here in Berlin. Right. My boss instructor sent me to the course along with 4 other young instructors to be. So we were in a little cell, a little group center from Berlin, which was very like a really good layout for us, because we constantly had partners to practice with. Like every evening we would come home from the day of the GIC and then just like go over all the material and stuff and just keep training all the time. And then in between Like you said, now the instructor course is split into 3 parts.
Right.
So in between those parts, it happens in like the course of 3 to 4 months usually. We just trained like, I mean, I train every day anyways, but we just went over all the material. But all the time we were under the umbrella of that club anyways.
Yeah.
And so we finished the instructor course, and 2 weeks later we started teaching like right away in our club. So it was very nice not having to worry about now what. So now I learned all this stuff, what now? It was really just like, we're waiting for you to finish the course so you can start working, please.
Yes.
So it was really kind of that way. And then it was very scary, of course, at the beginning teaching the first classes, but it eventually, you know, everything becomes routine once you do it for a little while.
Yeah. And you guys, you did this in Germany, in Berlin, and you had only German people there, or you have a mix between other countries? And
No, we were sent to obscure cities and towns that I never heard of before in Germany. Like it was very teaching. Like I traveled to all these crazy places, but do you think I know cities here? No, I don't.
my own country, I didn't know the cities exist in your country. That's very nice.
Yeah, it was like 7-hour drives to some obscure place that I've never, like really strange. Like we never understood why they don't just have it in one of the main cities, or God forbid, the capital city. But it was just like really small places, and so it was kind of like a road trip always. And each of the 3 parts were in different towns. So like I think in my instructor course there was like 20 people, like plus minus a few, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, around 20 people probably. And we would always meet for like 9 days or 9 days. And I think the last part is like 6 days or something, in that city basically, and do the work.
It's very good. Yeah, what I tell everybody when they start training, people say, "Oh, you know, can you tell me more about the instructor certification that you guys run?" I says, "Look, I'll tell you what. Why don't you train for the first year? Get the first year out of the way. 3 classes a week. Off you go. So by then, you will understand a little bit more about Krav Maga. You understand about us. You give us time to get to know you a little bit better, and vice versa. And then if 12 months later, you still want to do that, then we can sit down and talk."
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's it. That's another way. And the more you train, the more you learn. Especially if you have this approach of, I want to be an instructor. Okay, so we can teach you as a student, give you all the techniques, and then start, pulling you to the side every now and then and says, right, that's the reason why we do certain things in a certain way. Keep an eye on this, keep an eye on that. And then the person starts to familiarize himself or herself with the class and why things happen the same way. I said, running a class is like, it's like playing drums. You have too many different rhythms. One hand is doing one thing, the other one is doing another one. And then someone walks through the door, you explain it, but you caught that one, or someone leaves especially. Who's that? Whoever left, I don't know what it was, but you go after the person, check if it's okay. And then you come back and tell me, all these little things that take place in a class. So someone is sick, someone wants more attention, someone needs more explanation. It's draining. And as you know, towards the end of it, you cannot sit down, because if you sit down, let everybody go home, you have no energy to even to remove your wrestling boots and take off your growing guard. You just want to lie down on the floor and sleep right there, isn't it? After 2 or 3 hour session.
I never sit down after training because I usually have another session anyways, but yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's like a dangerous little road if you kind of just arbitrarily want to do an instructor course. I would strongly advise against that. I think you know that, we all know that, whoever had some experience in Krav Maga, but there still seems to be people that are just like, ooh, I want to become a Krav Maga instructor randomly. Yeah. It's just so strange. It's so wrong. As much as I'm not into like the martial arts philosophy of things, like that is so long standing, I do believe that becoming instructor should be very secondary to your actual activity, your actual training. Like first you must actually be in that world for a good amount of time, which is why I almost said no when I was offered like to go do the instructor course, because I was like, I'm too young. It doesn't make sense. I'm not doing this for so long. I thought you can only do this when you're like 20 years in the world or something, like practicing and stuff. Of course now I know that's a little extreme as well, but in some way in my head it is like that. It should be like kind of a symptom of you being around for so long in a certain activity that you become instructor, and not just like the first thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just my opinion.
Well, this thing is a kind of a catch-22, because we had people that used to train 6 times a week, sometimes 8 times a week. They used to go to the morning class and then the evening class
Nice.
per day. So, and then of course, with so many classes, you become good. You go up ranks very quickly, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I'll tell you what, don't you want to become an instructor? Maybe because you have so much, so much effort and dedication towards this thing. Maybe it would be good to have you as an instructor. But then it was a big mistake, because the person on this side of the lineup taking orders from other people is very good. As soon as you have to flip the other way around, now you're the one who's standing in front of people. You tell them what to do. It's not exactly what I want. I don't feel confident. After a few months, a couple of years, the person decided to leave. I don't want to teach this anymore, and then stop training Krav Maga completely, which was like very strange, very weird, and hard for us to understand. But then again, there's so much we can do when it comes to all this. You get people started and try to guide them as much as you can with a bit of experience and so on. But it's very hard to control everything.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
So yeah, Manuel is joking that you've got too much hair to do the Krav Maga instructor's course with us, because all of us are a bunch of bald people. It's okay. He's just jealous of my hair. Yeah.
I would love to do that look though. This hair is so annoying. And it's so good for training, isn't it? You can't be grabbed and stuff.
If she shaved her head, Manuel, I'm gonna blame you for the rest of my life. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, crazy. Anyway, okay. Oh, it's interesting. And you mentioned about teaching other girls. People talking about females only class, and you're running away from this, like I run away from the kids classes. I'll teach soldiers. I work with pets nuts any day, but please, no kids. That's what the money is. Good, you can keep all the money to yourself. I rather, get stabbed with a bayonet from a soldier, but no.
Oh my God.
And how do you see this? Don't you see your club maybe in Germany or other clubs starting this thing?
Not so much. I mean, supposedly there are military courses that are being taught by our school, but this is very rarely and only on like special request and stuff like that, and then it's really not published at all. But and also this would only be like the bosses of my club. They're like expert level and stuff like that, and like not my business. So that exists. that is a thing, not my thing. I'm not a combat military instructor at all. I'm only purely civilian.
No, my question was regarding the females. Don't you think you could teach females classes?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is the weird thing. Like, as much as I'm so split on this. As much as I'm technically against women's only classes because it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
That's my main point. It's unrealistic. But as I said before, it can be very supportive or useful for certain things. I keep dreaming up all kinds of women's camps and stuff like that in my head, like in my free time, of things that, like, what can I focus on if I really only had women in front of me, and thinking more about like how empowering it could be to like overcome certain, hurdles basically, and traumas maybe, and just like finding strength and finding more strength in your Krav Maga practice and stuff like that, which is kind of like specified, and you can't do that in a regular class. Having said all that, that's just like kind of my random brainchild that'll happen when, I don't know, I'm old and epic. But in our club, in the club I'm working at, we don't have female only classes at all. So I don't get to live out that fantasy ever. So I haven't actually ever, I have participated in very few women's classes, but I have never taught one as far as I remember. I've taught a first lesson where only women were there, and I thought that's cool, just because women are interested in Krav Maga, and I think that's cool generally. But women's only classes, I have not had the pleasure of really teaching.
Interesting.
Kids classes, yes, unfortunately.
Very interesting. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's as I said, there's when we started this thing many years ago, we had the Magda, which was an excellent student, crazy, the mindset, and Magda will act some of the guys. They'll go like, my God, who's that lady? I was like, well, it's a long story. Why? Because she kicked me in the groin, she punched the elbow, she done this. Like, yep, that's it. Yeah,
Yes.
go away, continue training. You know, next time if you behave, she's not gonna hurt you too much. That was pretty much it. I always to hold her back to say, hey, don't bite people now. Let them, you know, get used to the classes first, and then we can let you spar against the guy there. And so that was very interesting because the girls used to look at like, wow, look at that. I want to be like you. And they had this big,
Yeah.
big group. And were you at the classes at Marylebone at that time, or was the LA Fitness Marylebone close to?
Like near like India Wharf or whatever it's called. Like
Oh, no, that was.
I definitely had classes with Magda, but like I think that gym doesn't exist anymore now. But yes, I definitely had classes where I used to love her classes because she's so tiny. She's smaller than me, but I think it's very important for women and men both to see how much power a small body can generate also in that way, and how much of a weapon you can be at that size.
In the groin once, and luckily I had a big groin guard, and I was on the floor rolling for about 30 minutes.
Oh
and
no.
In my head, it was like, come on, get up, you know how to deal with it. And my body's like, ah, screaming. And my instructors looking at me, they didn't know if it would pick me up on the floor. They would laugh about it. They were very confused people at the time. So it wasn't very good.
That's wonderful.
It was weird. But interesting. And you went to Greece with us for Kefalonia, I think it was. Yeah. At the time,
what year was that? Yes.
Not training with us, but you're training in Germany and not an instructor yet.
Exactly. Yeah, that was before becoming so it must have been 2016. I'm gonna say. Somebody correct us if we're wrong. Yes. That was one of my adventures of just stalking your Facebook page and being like, "Hey, can I join this?" And then I just tagged along because I'm a big sucker for training camps. I just think there's nothing better because you get to really delve into your craft brain consistently without like having to work, without like going this and that and like the other, and just really focus on that kind of world. So I love training camps, and whenever I see them pop up on Facebook pages of your club and stuff, I'm always like all over that.
And then you also went to Poland with us, wasn't it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
That was
definitely. Not just once. I think, yeah, with you, did I go twice maybe?
I think it was, yeah.
Maybe twice. Yes, and I went to
Czech Republic or Poland?
No, with you I went only to Poland to ESA, and then I went to Czech Republic with other instructors, and I'm like all over that stuff.
With Israelis, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I remember that. Excellent. I'm just looking at something here that oh yeah, good. And Israel. We were supposed to go to Israel, wasn't we? It was because I was like,
what happened there?
We need to go there. We need to go there. We need to, you know, have a little experience. It will be the next step for you. Go to Israel.
Corona.
Behind the curtain. But
yeah, whenever my nationality is allowed to go anywhere again, because this, like insider news, this was the reason. Like right at the beginning when Corona hit, Germany was the first country to be banned from entering Israel for Corona reasons. And so I was like, hey guys, I'm not coming because I'm not allowed. So yeah, it's strange to me sometimes when I think about it. Like I'm doing, like Krav Maga is such a big part of my life, and it's obviously like coming from there. And like that's all where the source is, and so many instructors are there and stuff, and so many instructors that I'm in touch with also. But somehow I never made it there. Like it's some sweet day.
One day we're gonna take you there. Yeah. Wow, it was a shame that we had so many people that, you know, booked and paid for tickets, and some of the guys from the U.S., you know, which is a long way to go.
Yeah, I was impressed by that.
We managed to get halfway, and then eventually in Europe somewhere I had to go back because they couldn't fly to Israel. But some others we couldn't even. The flights kept changing, so it was a bit of a nightmare. And
yeah,
we got there. I was there a couple of days before because I was supposed to have a guy from Brazil coming over. It was his first time, so I was there to be the guy, you know, showing the area as if I knew.
The insider.
It didn't happen either. The guy couldn't make it, and then I was there for a week, just literally just walking around like a zombie, training with Ron.
Oh.
And chatting about Krav Maga, meeting some other people, which was good still. It was very nice. It's always interesting that. But next time, as soon as this thing is, you know, we are allowed to go on the street and hug people again.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Even if you're one of those grandmother hugs where you're slightly far away, that's fine. That will do those ones. Yeah.
No
And,
problem.
oh, okay. Um, the
Krav
teaching,
hugs.
yeah, Krav hugs, a kick followed by kicks in the groin. The teaching Krav Maga, I mean, from you here in the UK, you've learned Krav Maga in English. Then all of a sudden
Yes.
you're back in Germany and they are speaking German. You probably look at them like, what the heck are you talking about? Because I have no idea what that technique means.
It's awful. Can I dish out? It's terrible because I mean, I don't know about different cities. I'm sure like in more traditional places in Germany they speak more German in training, but we have complete Dinglish. It's just it's so strange. Like it's such because we literally keep using the word punch and kick, but kind of germify them. It's just like really and then me especially like you said, you didn't know where I'm from, and many of my students think that I'm not German because I speak so strong. Like it's so much easier. It was always easier for me to like express myself in English anyways.
Yeah.
Ever since I was like a teen and stuff, and English just, it sounds weird, but English is just easier. Easier than German. Who knew?
Let me tell you this. That's the first time I went to Berlin. My very first holiday in the UK was in 2000, actually. I flew to Berlin and they were walking around. Then I saw this food truck, and there was something written on the side. It was a name this long, and I had to find it. I said, "What the heck is that?" Oh, it's that chicken wing. And I thought, chicken wing. It was a name. I'm not kidding. It was like long, massive. I even took pictures back in the day to bring it back and says, well, all that means chicken wing. Imagine the full chicken. It must be like even twice as long than the name.
Yeah. Well, chicken is actually shorter, but yeah, that would be Hähnchenflügel. There you go.
Something like that, yes. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, German is a great language as languages go, and there's like whatever, but for Krav Maga I think English works just better. I don't know how much Hebrew would be better, but English is just a little more to the point, and I find it easier to express techniques in them, especially because the way we learn them from curriculums and everything, it's always like Hebrewified English anyways, so we're used to learning all this in English. Yeah, I just like it's a small portion of German that I put in my teaching, and I hope my students by now are used to the fact that I just sound like kind of a language idiot most of the time, but I get the point across, and I think like the pictures speak for themselves mostly. That's
I had an issue terrible because I was teaching the other day, a few months back, or even years, I didn't even know anymore.
Oh, no.
One of my instructors, which is a Brazilian guy, Edward, and then I said, oh, let's try Portuguese on this. And then every 3 words, one was English at least, and in Portuguese and English. And I said, I'll tell you what, let's just carry on, in one language. And also, I went to Brazil a couple of years ago, and I had to teach a workshop there. And it was the weirdest thing ever because in my head, I was, you get into the rhythm and all of a sudden the words are coming out in English and people are looking at me like, what? When is the translation coming out there? Because you're speaking a foreign language, we don't understand you. So it was tricky. Yeah, it was very interesting, but it was fun. It was fun anyway.
I can relate, yeah.
And you are, what level you are now? Are you G1, 2?
Well, I'm stagnated now thanks to Corona. I was supposed to do my grading right at the beginning of Corona. God damn it.
Yeah.
I'm stuck at G2 still.
Okay, brown belt 2 for us, for people who are listening to this, brown belt 2, which is right here.
Oh yeah, that colors. Colors. Colorful. Yeah.
Because I tell everybody, when people start training, the grading is every 6 months. They still doing every 6 months in Germany also, the instructors grading?
I don't know. I'm not sure. We have general gradings like in our club about every 6 months, but I can't participate in them. Like that's the biggest issue. I should be already like G4 by this time, but like the appointments for gradings are so weird. Like sometimes they just don't work, and then since I'm still with KMG, we have like very specific times when I can do grading, how much time needs to be in between, and it's not based on training time, but it's solely time. So very often it happened that the grading date will be before I'm like allowed to do another grading,
to do it, yes.
And then an injury is in the way, or then Corona is in the way, and all this stuff. But I mean, patches don't win fights, so who cares?
No, but it's good. Sometimes people say, no, I want to become an instructor. I don't care about becoming an expert. I don't want to grade and things like that. I says, but wait a minute. You attended your course like 5 years ago. Now you could be pretty much ready for an expert level.
Mm.
So, but you never bother with that. What you're gonna say is the experience that it counts, yes, but the paperwork also has to go with it. So it's a combination of 50-50.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
don't want to, but keep it doing, keep grading. When you can grade it, stick the paper on the wall, leave it there, because all of a sudden you become a expert level or an opportunity to do something different, attend all the courses or teach abroad or whatever that is, and all of a sudden
Mm.
the paperwork is there, which is always good. And also one thing that I liked with fact with you is that you travel, you go out. Let's see what's happening there. Let's train with those guys, trying to understand a little bit more. Let's train with those guys here and try to learn. Oh, that's a different way of doing it. I understand that. It's very good. So that's what brings the flavor when you teach a class. You know what I mean? Now, if you go back and watch your my first class, for instance, I had the Tibur's first class written on my iPad here because I sat in the corner and made notes about it. It was so funny. And every now and then I find this thing and I plug and I send it back to him and we just laugh about it. But everybody, I remember Magda's first class. She was stressed to the point that, you know, halfway through the warm-up, she looked at me and says, what's happening? Because I have no idea what's going on anymore. I says, well, I'm watching it. I'll give you the, the information. I'll shout from here and you do what you need to do. It's normal. It's normal. It's everybody has to go through that anyway. And
Yeah.
the more you teach a subject, the more you learn about the subject and evolve there. But plans to become an expert. Do you have any plans to go to Israel and have the big grading over there, 7, 8 hours?
I think okay, I'm gonna be really honest. I definitely want to do G5, so whatever color equivalents you have there. G5 was always like a very like clear goal for me. I want to reach that level.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that then I'm fine and I can retire. That's not really what that means, but somehow that's like the level that I definitely want to have. And maybe we can talk again at that point about expert level. But if you ask me right now, I would say no, because I've seen the curriculums and stuff. I don't know if I really want to do like a 2 to 3 day grading process. I rather do like some obscure, crazy, challenging training camp. But that's my opinion right now. And I'll hopefully continue living for a while longer. So maybe I get bored in 10, 15 years and I'll just do it. But expert level was never really like, oh, I must have that. I think there's a lot of many other things that I want to do. Like I want to reach G5 and then like really like spin my web more with techniques and stuff like that. But expert level, I don't know, somehow doesn't tickle my fancy so much.
How many females expert level you have in Germany? You can count in one hand.
I'm not 100% sure, but 2 that I know, and they did the grading together and they did great. And one of them is one of my boss trainers.
There we go.
She's a master. I mean, not a master level, but it's amazing. It's wonderful. And that actually was she only did it like a year or so ago.
Okay.
And we were with her in preparation, you know.
What's her name?
Stephanie Wiebe now.
I think I know her.
Married. She's like a very tiny, like a little smaller than me, also long brownish hair.
I'll have a look at the picture, but most likely I know. If not, yeah.
And the other one is an instructor in Bavaria. I've trained with her as well. I think her name is Sandra, but I'm not totally sure. So they did the grading at the same event, and so we heard all the stories. And that actually was a moment. They coming back and I was like, wow, I just felt so woman proud for a moment there, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, really impressive. And I considered the idea for a moment there, but still it's not like my ultimate goal, I think. But we'll see what happens.
As I said, when you're not looking, in a subconscious way, yes, but your focus is not there. Your focus is the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it.
It's just a matter of time. What I tell everybody is that when you're preparing for a black belt grading or exam, it's the basics. Get the basics right, because I've seen lots of people fail. I was there not grading or perhaps even grading, but you're trying to help the guy as much as you can during the event, but it's not. Just come on, lift your hand, do the basics, move away from the line of attack. This is stuff that you teach every day, so you shouldn't be failing on those subjects. But unfortunately, that's what happens. From P0 to P5 is the core. If you don't get those things right, then bye-bye. You forget about the G-level stuff, the brown belt stuff. And I've seen many of them fail right in the beginning. And the examiners look at me like shaking their heads and think, oh, here we go. But 3 hours into the grade, the guy failed the grading. Still another 4 or 5 to go, or maybe
Oh,
next day even. So, you know, it's a lot of effort, a lot of time and money and dedication to go all the way there and not pass there. So the more people get prepared, the better. So take your time. Don't rush into it.
absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. And
Definitely.
from the girls watching this thing here, what is the big tip, the big feedback you can give them?
Fight the biggest dude in the room.
What is that?
Why is that? Because I think
No. What did you say? What did you say?
fight the biggest dude in the room.
Yes.
And maybe fight and don't win. It doesn't really matter because it's a training situation, and that is so awesome because you don't want to go on the street and suddenly there's the biggest dude attacking you and you're like, shit, completely intimidated. So go to training, pick the toughest opponents and feel like a fool. It doesn't matter. That's what training is for. Okay, feel like a fool always, but get up, keep doing the work, keep training, and build it up, and that's all really you can do. But I think like all the girls and anybody really milk that situation of training because it is your little safe space where you really can practice those things and become more confident, really.
Yeah.
So don't make it easy for yourself, make it hard.
I imagine you at the playground school walking to the bigger guy and punch him in the face and going, right, my name is Yasmin, how are you? Yeah, became friends forever now, yeah?
I was big on back kicks when I was in elementary school, apparently. Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh my God. So you see that probably people shaking their heads and going, you see, that's the kind of people you used to teach in class and have to go
Exactly. That's where we end up.
and, oh, the funny thing is, sometimes it doesn't matter if it's male or female. When people walk through the door, there's this mindset, the eyes, you know, that fire in the eyes, and go like, oh, okay, you're one of them. Step to the side. Here, let me keep an eye on you. Okay, the technique is no good, but the mindset is 110%, is even more than we should have. Okay, so let's try to bring that one down. Is when we spend most of the time going slow, 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 you know, keep slow. And then eventually at one stage you have to go, right, okay, you have to bring it up. So bring your mindset up. Let's try to build that side of it.
Oh, yes.
A bit more, you know, stronger and more aggressive. And then it's a very funny, it's like you're the maestro and there's the orchestra in front of you and everyone you have to keep
Like
everybody.
puppets.
Yeah, you have to keep everybody running together because otherwise it's just turn into a punch up in a class. And whoever taught class, they will understand what I'm saying, because you turn your face this direction, focus on one couple for a minute too long, all of a sudden the kids are jumping one another and headlocking and throwing one another over the shoulder.
Oh, yes. But those are exactly the things that I love the most now that I'm like, I'm not excited or like nervous about teaching anymore at all. So you have like a different head on your shoulders and you see different things. And exactly what you described, both of those versions I find the most interesting. When you have like the crazy people that are just like way too high energy and you need to teach them like a little more control, and you start seeing that learning curve. Yeah. And on the other side, when you see people are really like nitpicky with the technique, but you try and push them to be more aggressive and stuff, like to kind of like get into those spheres of teaching, I find so fascinating. And that's like super interesting to see that kind of learning curve. Because I mean, the choreography, the technique of things, everybody can learn. It's Krav Maga, it's simple, you know, it's easy. But like to really teach people how to effectively apply this stuff, how to effectively maybe defend themselves eventually, and like how to mix your psyche with your movement and all this stuff, and like drill all your levels of being, that is super fascinating. I love that stuff.
Fantastic. And when people talk about it, you know, the short-term courses like 6 weeks, 8 weeks and stuff like that, in one hand, I'm completely against that, because I think, you know, you learn stuff in 5 weeks. You learn some stuff, yes, for sure. You know, the awareness behind it, maybe a little bit of fitness or some techniques. But if after that you think, okay, I've got it, I don't need to do this anymore because I will remember this 5 years down the line, is the biggest mistake. So
if only.
It's like you buy a pair of scissors. He's going to cut right nicely in the beginning, and after a while, the scissors are not going to cut anymore. Then you have to go and sharpen the scissors again and continue cutting whatever you're cutting with it. So that's the way I see skill levels and things like that. Because you know, the fitness, we know, you all of a sudden you got a cold, you're super fit, your conditioning was amazing. 2 weeks in bed, you know, cough in your lungs, and your fitness is down the drain again. But the mindset is there. you train again, you go back up again, and you keep doing this all the time. Same thing with the techniques, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And with Krav Maga, what I see is that people go away sometimes. You know, used to be private students, they go away. 2 years later, they come back. Oh, can we have a lesson again just to see how it goes? I'm crap at this. Don't say anything. Let's go through the pad work. Let's go through the techniques. You know, and you keep throwing a little thing, little correction here and there. And towards the, you know, the end of 1 hour, 2 hour session, they are like, wow, I remember everything. Yes, of course you remember. This was, you know, sitting there somewhere sleeping, but it was active still. Your brain is still thinking about this. All they had to do is reconnect the brain to the rest of the body. And all of a sudden, boom, you're back in business again. And yeah, and I'm sure you experienced this with students already, and, you know, people that
Yeah.
after 6 months, 1 year, and you can tell like, wow, all right, then you continue training. No, I didn't do anything for 6 months. And all of a sudden the techniques are.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the riding a bike metaphor and all that. But yeah, like you said, I'm again mixed feelings about like these 6 weeks courses and like intensive courses and stuff. I think they're great for what they are in connection with regular long-term training, because everything, I keep saying this to like everybody and all my students, you want to learn to dance, you don't just do one Sunday and then go to a ball dance. Like that's not how it works. You want to learn a language, you don't just go for one weekend and then you're fluent. It doesn't work like that. Anything you want to learn that has to do with movement, that has to do with the brain, you have to practice again and again and again. The only good thing with Krav Maga is, since it's so simple and it's based on all our reflexes and all that stuff, of course it comes back quickly. But I mean, as we all know, if you want this stuff to work in a real situation, you have to be in a constant practice of it. So I like intensive courses, I like short-term courses and stuff, but only in connection with like regular training. Otherwise, I don't think it makes much sense. And I think it's a very dangerous layout of people to go to like a Krav weekend experience course and then think they can defend themselves.
Yeah.
This is really dangerous, and we keep talking about this a lot in our courses, because we have many seminars, and our seminars are usually open to the public, not just members. So this is like the first thing and the last thing we'll always say, just to stress, please don't be overconfident now. You learned a lot of stuff, but it takes a lot of time also for you to really, truly be able to utilize it, basically. Utilize.
There's no shortcuts on this thing here, isn't it?
Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah.
Wow. It would be amazing. Yeah. I mean, unless we get into the Elon Musk sort of approach where I can download some information in my, you know, all of a sudden I'm the Matrix. Send me the information how to fly a helicopter. Okay, I can fly a helicopter now. But until we get there, no, those skills, you need to spend time. Is the journey, as I said. What is the story with this? You have plans to come to London, I heard? Or if I didn't hear, I'm putting the seed in your head. Can you come back here? Yeah, you have plans to stay there? What is the next step for Yasmin?
Oh God, what's the next step? Actually, this is a topic of the current times. I don't know, and I think 2020 is a really strange year so far. Like, I've come up with so many life plans already in this year that have vanished again, and are off the table. So I just wonder what other ideas I come up with. So my answer will stay that vague. I have no idea, because this year is really messing up everything, probably in a good way, probably in a bad way, and a mix of everything. And I'll see what's next after that. I just know that as soon as I'm allowed to leave the country again, I must. And I want to train way more again, because I miss my own training a lot, as we probably all do. But yeah, I don't know beyond that. I really want to come visit to London. Yes, I've somehow tried this in my head for a couple of years now, but I don't know why I don't manage, but it happened.
The category, or you have the time, you don't have the money, or you have the money, you don't have the time. So it's always this kind of, you know, this what happens most of the time, and the time is disappearing. It's going very quick. And
yes, that's mostly it. Yeah.
Is the pre-grading and the grading we failed, so I have to do it again. Okay, so keep that one in mind. Yeah. That's pretty much it. You failed the grading. Have to do it again. So we're going to be counting 2019, 2021, and then 22. Forget about the other one. That 2020 never existed.
Yeah.
From someone who runs a business, my point of view is very, I mean, we are in a very strange scenario now because we planned 2020 last year, okay? September, October, we had a calendar for this year. I combined 5 or 6 different calendars from different people, different organizations, and, you know, courses. It was beautiful. Now I'm even scared. I'm not sure if you're gonna do half of the stuff that is in that calendar, probably not even that. I'm not sure if you can sit down and plan 2021 already because we don't even know if 2021 is gonna exist there, maybe, I don't know. So, you know, we have lots of things with a backpack ready to go out, but we're not sure if it's going to rain or not. So we don't know what to take, basically. That's more or less the mindset now.
Exactly.
And, well, let's see if that happens then. Listen, we've been talking for almost an hour now. Now is the time when I ask the lovely people watching us if they want to ask any questions, and they're going to bombard you with something. But be gentle, people, okay? There are kids watching this.
Please let it all be about my hair again. I would love that.
Right, so if you want to ask a question, unmute your microphone, or if you want to type it, do it a favor. Anyone? No, let's wait for the question. If you have no questions, very good. And what I was about to say, how many Krav Maga clubs are in Berlin? Quite a few, huh? Different organizations even.
I don't, like a lot of really strange ones too.
Strange ones, yeah.
There's something like, they come up with new words and stuff. I don't know if I can mention it here. Yeah, I guess I can.
It's on a website. It's not secret. It's there. We can just go and search.
Yeah, like, I don't know. There's like, I mean, of course we have the standards like KMG. It's mostly us, I think, because we have a really, really large club. And then there's some IKMF, I think, and there's defense something or what it's called, I forgot, and like some semi-Russian stuff and some Polish version, and then there's Kravolution, which is my personal favorite in terms of names. Yeah, a lot of chefs salting the soup, I want to say. Carefully, like, I don't want to hate on anybody's business, but yeah, like the thing that I mentioned earlier, a lot of people running out and becoming instructor really quick
over the weekend. Yes.
Yeah, you know, and I guess
I like the ones who become instructor over the weekend, write a book, and all of a sudden they're in the Hall of Fame in Israel, and you think, what? I've been in Harlow, called the Harlow of Fame. You know what I mean? I've been inducted in the Harlow of Fame. Yeah, but I never tell anybody. I keep secret, you know, because Jesus.
Oh gosh.
Every time I look at book, I buy a book, and I buy the book, I go through the book like this, and I give it to somebody. Off you go. Did you read it? No, I just look at the pictures. That's more than enough. I don't want to read the whole thing. The pictures will tell all the stories, but never mind. And the question was that, how do you, oops, now people just woke up now. Okay.
Good morning.
How do you balance the full-time work? Of course, not now, but prior to Corona, and also teaching Krav Maga. You taught Krav Maga every night or a couple of nights a week? How was it?
Easy. Don't work full-time.
Work full-time, yes.
I have another part-time job. Full-time would not work, and it's also because for like the last year, kind of, I've been one of the main instructors for my school. So as much as that is still a part-time job, I was like kind of on the road all the time, because I was going from lesson here to lesson there to lesson there, then have like 2 hours layover, and then layover and then next lesson and stuff. It feels almost like a full-time job. So at the end of the week, I would realize that I worked like 50 hours between my 2 jobs. So how do I balance it? Now there was very little balance last year. Right. And now there's also very little balance due to Corona. So I need to find like the middle path of that somewhere. Yeah. But so far I haven't balanced it well, I think. Okay. It wasn't ideal. But it's I'm like adjusting, and we're in the process of like finding new schedules and stuff like that. And some like organizational stuff has been changing. Eventually it will take flight, hopefully, when Corona's over. So my schedule is adjusted, but generally the way I was working as an instructor does not mix with another full-time job. It's not really possible.
Oh, the good thing is being an instructor that you can have this freedom. As I said, one of the things I wanted when we had a big team of instructors, some of them are full-time, is that I don't know what you want to do during the day. It's your problem. You can go to the gym. You can wake up at 10 a.m. It's your problem. As long as 7 p.m. you're there, smelling amazing with your uniform, with a big smile on your face, and you teach the best class ever. That's all I want interested. And the
Yes.
instructors want to go like, when is that instructor back here again? Because I want to train with that person. That's all we wanted. You know what I mean? And then of course you can teach private lessons during the day. You can attend some other stuff. You can end up bringing different ways of bringing money and getting your income sorted, which I guess gives you more freedom, of course. Unless if you want to work in the city of London, make fortune, lots of money. But I'm not sure. At this stage in time, balancing money and lifestyle and a healthy mindset, I think, is more important, as you can probably tell. Okay, so that's the next question is: do you believe that a female instructor is the best position to teach women Krav Maga? That's question number one. Or do you know male instructors who are successful in teaching females only classes? He's talking about me now. No, I'm just kidding. He's not talking about me now.
Yes.
I keep doing what the girls want to do instead of me going, I had a lesson plan for you lot. And they go, no, can we do something? Oh, off you go then. Let's do that. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Jesus. They always twist my arms out.
Yeah. See, nobody twists my arm, so let's start with that. This is a really good question, caller number one.
Caller number one.
I've had the pleasure of having really good male instructors for my female Krav Maga needs. Some of them amongst your staff. Wow. Definitely. So, and actually, I mean, we have great female instructors in my school, so I'm really happy to work amongst those women. Unfortunately, I rarely have the pleasure to just train under them because the time is just not really there. Like, it doesn't really blend well because they're teaching at the same time as me, so I'm kind of like out of the loop with that. I am really curious to do, just because this kind of fits the topic, to do the women's instructor course, because currently in Germany it's being taught by one of these expert ladies, and I think that would be super fascinating because I hear that she's really great down in Bavaria. I used to think always that only a female instructor can really teach well to women, and actually I have to say I disagree, because most of the things and most of the best hints, even for my body size and stuff, I got from male instructors. So I think you can't really pin it on one or the other. I think it's really the individual instructor that you're working with, and their knowledge and understanding of, the physique and the physical abilities of a woman versus a man, or a woman versus a woman, or whatever. So there's shitty instructors of both genders, let's just put it that way, and there's really great ones.
I love the German,
both genders.
go to the point, bang. I love that part of it.
Yeah,
excellent. Well, let me ask a question. Do you really think there's an instructor's course for female any different than an instructor's course as a general instructor's course? Or do you see this as just another way of making money, creating another little brand, and trying to sell a little bit more? Don't answer that question, because we all know that the answer for that. People are shaking their heads there. But anyway, let's move on. Strength and technique. What skills you feel females should work on more to be effective? Apart from the kick to the groin, fingers in the eyes, of course, which is the specialty. So what do you think? Strength, technique, a combination of both?
Both.
Yeah.
One thing doesn't hold you over above water. It's like you need to, like, it's not, I'm not even saying you need to be a master at everything, but I think really your individual mixture makes it happen, and you cannot ever only rely on technique, because if you just don't have any power behind it or any aggression, it's not going to work. At the same time, well, if you go just full force and strength, you probably make some damage, but maybe you don't behave tactically in the sense that it'll get you out alive. So it's definitely a mixture.
Combination of everything.
That's the warrior.
Wow. So now we know why you are an instructor and why you're doing what you're doing, because that mindset is not for everybody, which is fantastic. We have guys that don't have that mindset. So congratulations. Yes, I think you're doing the right thing and the right path. And as soon as the people forget about this situation, what's going to happen. It's just going to go away like the way it came, and we're going to go back. And what happened 2020? I don't know. It will feel like a night out when you drunk too much, and next day you don't remember it. Pretty much.
Exactly.
I hope so. But look, listen, we've been talking, which is very nice. I mean, as I said, the subject had a few lines, stuff that I wrote it down here, but you basically went through my list as if you knew my list, even though we haven't exchanged that. So it was very good for sure. And as I keep saying to the guys, if people like this, as they liked the conversation, we might come in with a part 2 and talk about some other stuff more specific. So let's keep it open. And thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed as much as we enjoyed it, because I've seen some faces that I haven't seen in months showing up. Yeah, yeah. Look at that. That's Ian waving like that.
Yeah, hi. I know. I've noticed. Hello.
Yeah. And and it's very good. It's nice to see that. We're bringing back Dr. Megan, the clinical psychologist from the US. She wants to talk a little bit more. She, relaxed towards the end of the interview. She's like, let's do this thing again. Like, we can bring some more information now. So if you have the chance, I will send you the links. If you have the chance to watch that one, it'll be great. Ask some questions and use you as a reference also.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for tuning in, everybody on the right side of my screen there. And yeah, let's talk again.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Take it easy. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Keep in touch.
Tschüss.
Guys, thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you, I don't know, tomorrow.